The relationship between eggs and diabetes requires nuanced understanding because eggs can actually be quite beneficial for blood sugar management. But people with diabetes face elevated cardiovascular risk that complicates egg consumption recommendations. Let's work through this carefully. From a blood sugar perspective, eggs are excellent for diabetics. They contain high-quality protein that promotes satiety and stable blood sugar levels. They have essentially zero carbohydrates, meaning they don't spike glucose the way traditional breakfast foods like cereal, toast, or pancakes do. Research even suggests that eggs may improve insulin sensitivity when consumed as part of a low-carbohydrate diet. For immediate glycemic impact, eggs are among the best breakfast choices for diabetics. But here's the complication. People with diabetes often have significantly elevated cardiovascular risk, even if their blood sugar is well controlled. Diabetes damages blood vessels over time and increases the likelihood of heart disease and stroke. This elevated cardiovascular risk means diabetics need to be particularly careful about saturated fat intake. This is where the recommendations get specific. Diabetics should limit themselves to 4 egg yolks per week, not 7. That weekly limit assumes you're keeping saturated fat from other sources minimal. However, diabetics can use egg whites liberally because they provide protein without any fat, cholesterol, or cardiovascular concerns. The implementation strategy involves several key practices. First, pair eggs with non-starchy vegetables rather than refined carbohydrates. A vegetable omelet is ideal. You're getting protein, nutrients, and fiber without blood sugar spikes. Second, avoid the high saturated fat accompaniments that are traditional with eggs. Skip the sausage, bacon, and cheese. Third, choose whole grains if you're including bread. Whole grain toast has fiber that moderates blood sugar response compared to white bread. Monitoring individual blood sugar response is important because there's significant variation between people. Some diabetics find eggs with vegetables keep them satisfied and stable for hours. Others might need to adjust portions or combinations. Using a continuous glucose monitor or testing before and after meals helps you understand your personal response. The saturated fat consideration is absolutely critical for diabetics. Even though eggs themselves are relatively low in saturated fat, typical egg preparations and accompaniments are not. A diabetic eating eggs with sausage and cheese several times weekly is increasing cardiovascular risk significantly, which for someone with diabetes can be genuinely dangerous. Let me provide diabetic-friendly egg recipes. Vegetable frittatas are perfect. Use 1 whole egg plus several whites. Load it with broccoli, onions, mushrooms, peppers, and herbs. Bake it and portion it for the week. You've got ready-to-go breakfasts with protein, vegetables, and minimal fat. Egg white omelets with spinach and mushrooms provide substantial protein without any saturated fat. Hard-boiled eggs paired with whole grain crackers and vegetables make excellent snacks that stabilize blood sugar between meals. Shakshuka is another fantastic option for diabetics. Eggs are poached in a spiced tomato and pepper sauce that's loaded with vegetables and anti-inflammatory compounds. It uses minimal oil, provides vegetables along with protein, and the fiber from vegetables helps moderate any glycemic impact. Serve it with a small portion of whole grain bread if desired. The nuanced relationship comes down to this. Eggs don't raise blood sugar, which is beneficial for glycemic control, but the saturated fat may worsen insulin resistance over time if consumed excessively. This is why the 4 yolk per week limit makes sense for diabetics. It allows the benefits while limiting potential cardiovascular harm. There's conflicting research on eggs and diabetes, which adds to the confusion. Some studies show eggs improve satiety and reduce overall calorie intake in diabetics, which helps with weight management, critical for type 2 diabetes. Other research suggests high egg consumption might be associated with increased diabetes risk in certain populations. The individual variation in response is likely significant. What's clear is that context matters enormously. Eggs consumed with butter, sausage, and white toast are completely different nutritionally than eggs consumed with vegetables and whole grains. Diabetics eating the former regularly are likely worsening their health. Those eating the latter are probably benefiting. The practical approach for diabetics: use eggs strategically as a high-quality protein source that doesn't spike blood sugar, but respect the 4-yolk weekly limit to protect cardiovascular health. Use egg whites more liberally for protein needs. Pair eggs with vegetables and whole grains rather than refined carbs and fatty meats. Monitor your individual response. Work with your healthcare provider and potentially a registered dietitian to personalize recommendations based on your specific situation, including your A1C levels, lipid panel, and cardiovascular risk factors.